Ladies and gentlemen, the program is about to begin. Please take your seats and turn off all electronic devices. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Los Angeles Chargers running back, Austin Ekeler.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who I haven't had the privilege of meeting yet, I am Janet Tran, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the Acting Chief Learning Officer and the Director of the Center for Civics, Education, and Opportunity at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute. Before we begin tonight's program, I'd love to welcome to the stage Gavin Rowe to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will everyone please rise and place your right hands over your heart? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you.
Gavin is going to bless us with his presence tomorrow night with our amazing speakers. It's so great to see so many of you from all of our programs, but welcome to the 2023 Reagan Leadership Summit. It has been a few years since we've been able to host this, so we are enthralled, so happy to be back after this pandemic break. We love the Reagan Leadership Summit because it's an opportunity to see some of our alumni who we haven't had a chance to hear from and learn about the success and lessons learned along the way in the time since you've been part of our programs. So I'd love to do a little bit of roll call first before we begin. Please raise your hand if you took part in the Discovery Center or the newly branded Reagan Leadership Center. Any Discovery Center? How about a Great Communicator Debate Series? Very cool, thank you. Any youth town hallers or ROTCs? Yeah, come on, act like this is a football game. How about our student leadership program? We got one, all right. Was anyone here a recipient of either our Ventura or our GE Reagan scholarships? Just shy? Don't be shy. You want a scholarship. That's for school. And then what about our Leadership and the American Presidency program in Washington, D.C.? Yeah! Shout out. Great. And then, of course, I know we have a few in the house here. Our newest program is our Civic Leaders Fellowship. Raise your hand if you're part of that. All right. So if you didn't raise your hand at all and you have not partaken and this is your first program at the Reagan Foundation and Institute, this is obviously an invitation to come back. You can see from K through adult, there is always opportunities to learn to be more of a civic leader, an invitation to continue your journey with us. I want to pause and recognize that these opportunities don't happen overnight, and the finest civic and leadership programs in the country happen here at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute because of the team that makes it possible. So if you'd please raise your hand if you serve on the education team or the foundation at large. Raise your hand. All right, take a look at these folks. Yay! There's President Reagan in the back over there, too. So they work incredibly hard to engine these programs that range from an amazing, hour in a simulation center to a summer in Washington, D.C. And they do this for you. So I really can't express enough gratitude to this team. As a lifelong learner, I always look forward to learning from you, and I'm really stoked that we are going to have these TED Talks from our students tomorrow. Your paths have been extremely different. Your expertise is really diverse, But the commonality is that our team is so proud of you, and we're humbled to be a small part of your leadership journey. So tonight, we open this year's summit from adversary to ally in a time where many Americans, they look at each other with distrust and dislike. Our language, it's coded. We talk past each other instead of to each other. We're really fixated on the differences we have instead of what brings us together, which here at the Reagan Library is an American creed that isn't perfect, far from perfect, but we always called for more perfect. So for better or for worse, labels such as adversary and ally, they're not static, they're not permanent. And we have to nurture those relationships we want. So this is the home that President Reagan built, and during the height of the Cold War, there were high tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union. And President Reagan was very upfront and honest when he spoke about what he called the evil empire. And critics said, you are being really incendiary, like you shouldn't call that out. And for you who have toured the library, who walked this space, you saw the negotiations between General Secretary Gorbechev and President Reagan. And sometimes they didn't go well, and they were hard battles. But ultimately, it was their work together that led to historical disarmament that made the world safer from nuclear warfare. This was an example of adversary to ally. So when we think about the time that passed, flashback to 1988, and President Reagan is touring the Kremlin and the Red Square with his then adversary. And they asked him if he still thought it was an evil empire. And he said, you're talking about another time, another era, from adversary to ally. So it's important to be vigilant and true to your values while giving grace to others to give them room for growth. And perhaps it's even more important to give yourself that room for growth. Americans, we need to find more spaces that pull us together. And the reason why tonight is so fun and so important is sports is one of the few remaining venues that can bring people of difference together. So our love of the game, our love of a team, is really a part of our identity. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. If you see someone wearing your team's colors that day, they're on my team, right? And we can high five after a win, or we can give each other that knowing head nod after a loss, that we're in it together. As football fans, which I am, we watch our teams battle ferociously for 4 quarters. But after the hard-won yards, after the game is won or lost, all the players find each other. And this is the part that I'd love to focus on. They hug, they exchange jerseys, niceties, and at the 50-yard line, they actually meet and they huddle in faith, gratitude, and unity. And the cameras don't focus on that enough, in my opinion. So again, from adversary to ally, and we need more of that in our American life. So tonight, we are honored to welcome our keynote speaker, who is a leader on and off the field. He understands how to bring together a motley crew of individuals towards one goal. He's the pride of Eaton, Colorado, and SoFi Stadium alike. And while he may not be a political leader, for those of you who haven't seen it, he did release a pretty effective political ad this season. So not necessarily successful, but I suggest you run again next season. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a thunderous football stadium SoFi round of applause for our star running back and captain of the Los Angeles Chargers. Louder, louder, what's going on here? What's going on?
Thank you, well done, well done. Well, first off, I want to thank everyone that's made it possible for me to have this opportunity and for all of us to have this opportunity. I think we should all be thankful. One thing that I've learned in the NFL is that you owe it to the people that came before you, that gave you the opportunity, gave you the foundation of what you're in, right? The opportunities that you have. Because without them, I don't have an NFL. We don't have this opportunity. I'm not here to speak to you. Do I need to stay at this podium? Can I walk around? All right, I appreciate it. I'm not used to being at a podium. A team, we kind of get in a circle, right, in a huddle. But as far as me thinking about, coming and talking today and learning about more what you guys are going through and the age that you're at and what I was thinking at that age, it takes me back. Because first off, I'm Austin Ekeler from Eaton, Colorado, which probably none of you have heard of. It's a tiny one stoplight town in Colorado. Lived out in the plains of Colorado, and now I've just finished my 6th year in the NFL. And if you would have told me that back when I was your age, I would have been like, what happened? Like what happened to my life? Like how did I get to that moment? And really, when I remember being in high school and really not necessarily knowing what I wanted to do, kind of where I wanted to go, but I remember knowing that I wanted to just apply myself, right? I wanted to apply myself to what I had, and I didn't necessarily know that that's what I was doing, because it was really just I wanted to try to be the best at what I was doing. As I got older, I started to have a little bit more awareness of how I was working when I was younger. The little things, like for myself, I was big into sports. My mom was a school teacher, and so she was really hard on me, and she also played college basketball. So she was really hard on me when it came to sports and education. And so for me, those are my two buckets that I put a lot of effort into. It was just focusing on that. And being in sports, you're around a lot of teams, right? When you're around a lot of teams, you start to learn what being a leader is. And I was a quiet student. I was quiet. I didn't really like to talk. It was funny, a little story that actually me and Mel were talking about, my girlfriend, before. I went over to one of my friend's house, and I was actually open one time, and I was started to talk, and their parents told my mom, oh, he actually says stuff. Yeah, I was that quiet. I didn't talk to anybody because I was just nervous. I was just conservative to myself, and it takes me a while to get out of my comfort zone. And so, as you can see, I'm on stage now talking. So again, where did my life go? If you would have told me back then that you're going to be talking on a stage, talking about leadership, talking about your journey. I'm just trying to set the stage as far as where I was and how far I've come. And hopefully you can get some key components along the way as we go along this journey. So come with me. So, right, I'm graduating high school, 17 years old, and I've been on a team. I'm on the track team. I'm on the football team. I don't really know what's to come from my life, but guess what? I know that I've applied myself. I've learned. I've connected, and guess what that gave me? It gave me an opportunity, right? And that opportunity was to go to this even tinier town called Western Colorado, right? That was where I went to school. Was where I played college football at, and I remember getting to Western, and there was 2 seniors on the team. There's 2 seniors on my team. That was it. And so I come in, I'm like, where is everybody at? And I learned really quickly why there was a problem, why there was only 2 seniors on that team. And this is, when I'm around your guys' age, where I'm 21 coming in, and I'm just going into this team, and there's not a lot of leadership. There was nothing. The seniors that were there were just stuck around because they were on scholarship. Everyone else quit or transferred. And so I got there, and I cared so much about my opportunity to play football and get an education because I knew that was going to be what gave me the next opportunity after that, right? When it comes to opportunities, you have to create them, right? We live in this world where you have to go out and get things done, right? If you're going to sit and wait around, it's going to be tough for you to get opportunities. So where do your opportunities usually lie? Your education, your network, right? Your social skills, your talents, right? So these are all things that whatever it is for you, it's okay, how can you apply yourself and get into there and make sure that you're caring about it and make sure you're not only checking the boxes, but doing the extra stuff as well, right? Where it's not just, I showed up, I did my work, but it's how can I better my relationship with the person that's also helping me out, my manager, right? My superior, maybe some alumni, right? There's these things that you continue to do, and that's exactly what I did when I got to Western State, and I was a freshman then, and I looked around, and 2 seniors. And so I remember our first away game, everyone was kind of messing around, and I was just felt so uncomfortable, and I was so upset because I cared so much, I wanted to win. We never lost in high school, and we come to this program, they had won 2 games the year before. And I remember I just cared so much, and we had a team meeting, and coach asked if anyone else had anything to say, and I was so scared. I was so scared, but I was like, I gotta say something. Like, I gotta say something, And so I broke out. I went up in front of a team, and I was like, Coach, I got something. And I remember trembling. I had tears in my eyes because I was just like, you guys, this is not what this is supposed to be like, Like, this ain't it. Like, we got to make sure we're locked in. We got a game tomorrow. You guys are on vacation here, And I was just saying in my heart. It probably didn't come out that smooth, but it was something. That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to say we got to stay locked in, right? And it was just that passion that I had for that part of my life, right? That football part of my life. You find these aspects of your life that you really love, and you put yourself in a community of them, in a community of people around you. So that's what I thought I was bringing myself into when I went to play college football. And it just didn't feel that. And then once I started to take kind of control of, okay, I need to help the team come together, right? I need to help. How do I do that? And so for me, I was relentless in the weight room, on the field. I started to help my teammates out, like, hey, like, this is what I think you should do. I got closer with my coach, so we started having what we called a leadership meeting, and it was the little things that I was helping that wasn't asked for me to do, but it was like I cared so much about this. Let me start doing it, and then I started to earn respect. I started to earn respect from my teammates, and it made me more comfortable of saying things to them, right? They were looking for me for advice, looking for me. Austin, what do you think we should do here, right? And I'm a freshman. I'm a freshman coming in. They made me a captain because I cared so much, wanted this so bad. And it's also important to know that these are just different aspects of your life. That's not everything. You're not going to be that invested into everything. But the things that you are, I think it's very important to be invested that much, because that's what's going to continue to allow you to continue to further yourself in that. And then there's the other bucket that I talked about, my education. And so I went to school knowing, yes, I love football, but I'm using football to pay for my education, because I thought that's where my next opportunity was going to be. I'm 5'8", look at me, I'm the smallest guy on the field at all times. I'm the smallest guy in the field, but I've led the NFL in touchdowns scrimmage for the past 2 years, right? 40 touchdowns in 2 years, and so it's like I'm getting it done, right? But I'm the smallest guy out there, right? I don't have these guys are huge that I'm going against too, and so sorry, I went on a tangent there. Going back to my education, going back to the education, right? I was using football to pay for school, and so I'm using this, right, as a vehicle, right? And so I'm in my education. I went to school for business. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to get into real estate. In Colorado, there's a lot of oil and gas going on, and so I was getting into the energy management sector. I was going to be what's called a landman between oil and gas companies and private mineral right owners. Sometimes it's the Fed, sometimes it's an individual. And so I'm going through this. I wasn't the smartest. I turned in my resume to get into this program. You had to apply to it, and Manon Billingsley, who has scarred me but also helped me, because she was so hard on us students. There was like 10 of us in this program, and she allowed me to get in because she saw that I had a work ethic as far as wanting to be in this. I had connections to the program. If I didn't have those connections to the program, the guys that were before me that I connected with from the football team probably wouldn't have got in. Right? That's one of those things where, hey, I had an opportunity that led to something else, that led to connection, that led to another opportunity, right? And so kind of speeding it up here through my college career, getting people to buy in more. By the end of my college career, there was 20 of us, my entire class. We all stayed together, all of us, the entire time. We all bought in, and then I was able to continue to build myself up and stay around the program with the energy management team, and ended up getting getting an internship, which led to a job offer. And then during that same time, I had NFL scouts coming to watch me play, watch me practice. And I had never thought about the NFL ever in my life, never. But what was I doing the entire time that I didn't even realize? I was building myself. Right? Like you hear like, shoot for the stars, right? Like, hey, let's shoot for the stars. And what I was doing, I was building up my floor. Like I was building my self-value. I was building my education. I was building my leadership skills by caring so much about what I was doing. I was building my connections in the business world because I had people that I knew in the program. I was talking to the alumni in the program. They're like, hey, you can get it. That's how I got my internship. I was building my self-value. When you build your self-value and focus on that and not necessarily a result, guess what? You add more value not only to your life, but to the people around you. Because when you have more connections, when you have more knowledge, when you have better social skills, when you can communicate, when you have whatever you've been building in yourself, people desire that. Someone needs that in their team. And guess what? You're not going to be able to do everything, so that's why you need a team. You need people that have been building those skills that you haven't been building, right? And so here's where I'm starting to build myself up. Now, people are trying to pull me both ways. People want me to come work in this, Noble Energy was a time. They got bought out by ExxonMobil, but they're like, hey, we want you to come work with us out in Houston. And also, hey, I end up getting an agent, and they're like, hey, we want you to come play in the NFL. And so that was a no-brainer. I was like, sorry, Houston, we got a problem, But I was like, I'm gonna go pursue this opportunity, right? I'm gonna go pursue this opportunity. And then if that doesn't work, guess what? I'm coming right back to you. I got myself options. That's another thing that's key, getting options for yourself. But guess what? I built up that floor, right? So, that's relevant to me, but it's relevant to all of us as well in our own way, right? Trying to build up your floor, because if you shoot for the stars and you go everything on one thing and you're just like, this is gonna be it. If you don't make it, guess what? You're crashing all the way down. But if you continue to build up your value in different ways, what you can, now I can just grab the star right here. If that doesn't work, guess what? I'm still right here, right? You build it up, make yourself more rounded, and you get a pick too. That's the best thing. And when you get to do that, guess what? Options. That's what I think we're all chasing for, is having some type of options. Because when you have options, guess what? You get to steer the boat. You get to steer the boat of where you're going. And my story it hasn't stopped from there, right? I've continued to do the same thing over and over and over. I'm 27 right now. I've been building. That's all I've been doing, is just building, planting seeds, continuing to build up my value. I'll get to a new platform. So I got to the NFL. Guess what? You think I stopped there? No, I kept going, right? I started to establish myself in football. I started to meet people. Now when you get to the NFL, it's a different platform, right? You get pretty much access to anybody. And so that's where I've really blossomed. That's why I wanted to spend most of my time on my college, because it's just more relevant. But now, right, I'm in the NFL. And so, like I said, as of now, got more back into my real estate. My education started catching back up to me. Football took over for a little bit, but now I'm in real estate. Right now, I just released the app. I have my foundation, giving back, because it takes a village. It takes a community, right? It takes people to help people. And the more you can have as far as people with value around themselves that have built themselves up and you can add to them, guess what? You get to do more. You get to impact. You get to progress life. You get to help people and help yourself at the same time, which is a pretty good combo, in my opinion, and gives you options as well. And so that's my message for you, to sum it all up, right? We're focusing on what do you want to invest yourself in? What part of your life do you want to invest yourself in, right? Focus on that. Focus on building up your floor, right, in that area of your life, right? Well-rounding yourself, right? Not just checking the boxes, but doing the extra things that are going to help you get really solidified in that thing, because that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. And if you're not willing to do that, I say, okay, that's fine. Find something that you are, right? Find something that you are, because when you do that, it's going to give you options. It's going to give you opportunities that you're looking for. And if you can find that, it's a great feeling, because guess what? You start to feel like you're steering the boat of your life. So I appreciate you guys. I want to open up for questions, but thank you. Thank you.
And then we'll go to audience questions, and then I think our team's going to figure out, maybe we can get you to do a selfie or something with the crew. But
yeah, let's do it, yeah.
So the game.
The game.
It might be too soon, but the game can lead to some very high highs.
Oh, yeah.
And some very low lows.
Oh, yeah.
And it's easy to, do things well when you're winning, but the losses are harder sometimes than the highs, right? So you're a captain. You're not just a star running back. You're not doing this for your own fantasy stats, right?
Right.
You want to win. And as a captain, how do you deal with lifting the team, refocusing that energy when your teammates are rightfully extremely frustrated, and you're also disappointed and frustrated.
The frustration runs through the entire, ecosystem of every team, and just understanding. I actually didn't understand the magnitude till I got older of how many people are impacted by us winning and losing games, right? Because I'm just thinking like, it's just the team, which is what we really focus on. But then it's our ownership, right? It's all of our support staff, right? It's all of the fans, right? It's all of the fantasy fans. So right, there's millions of people.
That's probably the lowest, I hope.
That's, I would say, the furthest out away from
Yes.
the team. But there's millions of people that are affected. Mostly us, right? Because we're in the heat of it, and we're the ones that control, our actual, doings on the field. And so there's so many ups and downs, like you said. We lose, if you saw our last game, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to leave that.
Too soon.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to leave that. So we were up 27-0 in the playoffs, and we ended up losing the game. So for those of you that didn't watch, not great. If you know anything about football, that's not good. You don't even need to know anything about football. That's not good. It's okay to be mad. And that's something that I tell guys, like, you should be mad. Like, that's not, if bad things happen, you should be mad, you should be frustrated, you should be upset, you should be all those emotions that come with that. But it really, for us during the season, it's like, it's got to be short term though. It's got to be, look, you have this time to feel the feelings that you should, but then you got to move on. We're emotional, we're humans as well. And so we take it on, we embrace it. You can use it as fuel for the next week, especially if you have a loss, right? You try to carry over that feeling and try not to get back to that. Try not to let that happen again. And so as a leader, it's like, okay, why did we lose, right? Let's address that. Why did we lose? We need to know what's going on, why, we came up short. And then can we fix it right now? Or is it an energy thing? Is it a strategic thing? And then let's try to have a plan this week, which we do every single week, to try to fix that and get back out there.
So does a loss like that, does that fuel your fire? Does that, do you
both.
think about it?
I feel like an emptiness inside of me when I lose, for 2 days, where it's like, because we're trying as hard as we possibly can, right, to dominate those guys. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone's doing. We're trying to dominate those guys. We want to make them feel us. And so when you lose, you just it's just you just feel like you let yourself and your teammates and everyone down, right? And it really just takes time and being around each other to kind of get over that.
So it feels like the whole world when you're playing this game, but we had a moment in this season that really put everything into perspective when we thought we lost one of our players on the field, which I'm sure really reverberated through your locker room. How did that put the game, which at the end of the day, that's all it is when it comes to a human life. How did it put things into perspective, and what was it like for you as a leader, kind of just digesting that and communicating it? And what did you realize was important in the days following that injury and that recovery process for you and your band of brothers?
Right. So what the public doesn't really see about the NFL is that we as players are all a part of what's called the NFL Players Association. So we are all basically grouped together in this big brotherhood of kind of what I was speaking about earlier about we are here because of what has been built on the people that came before us. So we pay our respects to our Players Association. We get together, we have meetings, we run the NFL as far as the player side. And so when things happen to any of us, it affects all of us, right? Whether it's, new contracts, policies, injuries, new equipment. And so when you have something that happened like DeMar, where, his heart stopped on the field, right? We don't really care about anything else besides our guys, right? Those are our guys out there. Absolutely, we want to destroy each other during the whistles, but when it comes to our health and longevity, we're there so that we can continue to push this forward in a place, in a manner that's safe for all of us. And so when something to that magnitude happens, nothing is more important than getting our guy back, right? Getting DeMar back to where he's stable and he's able to continue on with his life, which is way more important than playing football. And so we saw that, right? We saw us all come together. I'm on the executive committee with the NFLPA, and so what we're doing is we're getting every ounce of information that we can to our guys, because people are wondering, what's going on? For those of you that don't know, DeMar got hit in the chest, right in the heart, which is there's a minuscule chance that if you get hit at a certain right time, right, it ends up stopping your heart, basically giving you a heart attack, and that's what happened to him. And you have a very short window for medics to get out there and get this guy, right, get him the CPR, get him shocked, get his heart started. We were on top of it, and that's just, kudos to, like I said, the people before us. We were ready for that scenario. I don't think it's ever happened before, maybe once, but we train for it. Like our medics, we have put ourselves in a place where if that ever happens, because we know it's a thing, they're there.
It was something we didn't want to see tested, but thankfully they were ready when it was time. When you're speaking about your road to the NFL, it would drive so many young men crazy that you didn't dream of being a football player.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a team, and you weren't wearing a helmet, and you weren't practicing your runs or your plays. And it's so significant, though, that you were building that floor to success. And so something that is probably less talked about, because, why talk about the positive things when we can talk about the negative things, is how important players are to their community and how important these teams are. And that the Tuesdays you get off, you're not off. You are working in the community, you're working towards causes.
Right.
So you started your foundation, the Austin Ekeler Foundation, in 2020. And maybe we can hear a little bit about the inspiration, what drives you, what's most exciting about the work, and you're planning for reaching another star after you score 40 more touchdowns.
Right. It really, I've noticed that a lot of the things that I get involved in come back to really the same message, the same type of, denominator, and that's the community aspect of it. And opportunities, right? Community and opportunities. And that's kind of what I've been chasing forever, it seems like. And so it's the same thing with my foundation. I started the foundation because I felt like when I was younger, I had enough opportunity to at least get me going in life, right? To get me going. Like, the fact that you're sitting in this room, you all do as well. You have an opportunity to get yourself, right, one foot in front of the other, get going on some type of path that hopefully is successful to your viewing. And so I wanted to help people that might not necessarily have that. We built some weight rooms because for me, that was one of my things that I think helped me when I was younger. And, you might just think of it as a weight room, but for me, it was a way to build social skills. My buddies are in there. It was a way to build mental toughness because I'm trying to grind myself into the ground in the weight room. And at the time, we're just trying to compete. Like, I'm trying to lift more than you, but it's building my mental, like, oh, I'm competing. I'm in this place where it's not necessarily hostile, but it's I guess, we'll go with competitive, right? And so that continues to build me the social skills. And so we built a couple weight rooms and put some more resources, washers and dryers, just things that seem basic, but not necessarily everyone has them, right? And so those are opportunities that we hope with the Austin Ekeler Foundation to put back that people can use. I can't make you use them, but you have an opportunity to use them and get, right, the benefits that you see beneficial out of those one day. And so that's why I wanted to give back, because I felt like I had that, and I want everyone, right? It takes people to help people, everyone to have that.
Well, it's interesting that you have such a positive mindset towards what you had, when many people in your shoes might say they grew up without. So I do want to make that point. But I think I'd love to open up the floor to audience questions right now. We have a couple of team members around. So Kim, Olivia, Cynthia, I believe. Let's get this show started.
Let's do it.
And if students could start with their name and what school they go to as well before they say their question.
Hi, Mr. Ekeler. Thank you for speaking with us first.
Just Austin. Austin's good, man. Yeah.
My name is Daniel Bellevue. I'm from Queens, New York, and I'm currently a sophomore at Delaware State University. So my question for you, the NFL, they house the best of the best. You guys have the most individuals who are in the league. They were once leaders on their high school teams, their football teams, whatever. So with this being said, how do you balance the conflicting personalities and manage being a leader among a group of people who were once leaders themselves?
Yeah. Especially for me, coming in as a rookie, I was leader on my college team. Ended up, like I told you all the story, but coming in, it kind of resets itself. You don't really have the respect anymore, and you kind of learn that there's a lot of different, even more, diversity in the types of people when you get to the league. Because in college, you're around, 18 to 22, usually around that range. we were talking backstage, like I had Philip Rivers, who was like 36 at the time with 9 kids, and I'm 21 coming into the league, you know. And so,
0 kids.
funny story, I was telling you, like the first time I saw them together, I thought he was doing a meet and greet with some like fans. Like it was 9 kids. You imagine 9 kids around something, that's a lot of kids. And those were all his. And so just being around the NFL, and especially because now the recruiting is at a maximum, right? We got people from Florida, we got people from Canada, we got people all over the place, different types of backgrounds. What I've learned and what I've been around, especially just around so many different types of people, thousands of different teammates, is you're gonna have to have an open mind, and you're not gonna see eye to eye with people. And I think there's guys that you can tell have a closed mind, because I think those guys are the guys that just stay in their clique and they don't really venture out outside of, you know, their corner, right? And that's fine, you know. I'm not saying you have to, you know, be open-minded, you know, learn about everybody and things like that. But when it comes to actually being a leader, like you have to be able to understand people. And the fact that I understand that there's people like that, I feel like I give you your space, but I'm definitely gonna, right, I know when to approach you, and it's not necessarily in the open times. And so when it comes down to is being able to listen. Comes down to being able to listen. We have a guy, I won't say any names or anything, but like I swear every time we have like a concept and we come up with something, he has like something that's like just opposite. I'm just like, he really believes it too. Like he really thinks like this is the way, and I'm just like, okay, like I hear you, but like we can't do that right now. Like we can't do it right now. We gotta try it this way, right? And talking about like how we're gonna you know go through practice, what we gotta tell coach as far as, you know, what we're doing this week. And so it comes down to having an open mind, being able to listen, and being able to, I guess, you know, accommodate for guys. And just I say guys coming around, you know, a lot of men, but just people in general, and just being open-minded, just to respect that they have a different perspective than you, and that's not necessarily wrong. You know, they might fully believe it, you might fully believe what you have, but it's like, okay, what can I get out of your concept that I can also maybe see why you would see that is the way you want to do it. And that helps you just be a more well-rounded person, I think, in general, if you can, you know, identify that stuff quicker. Great question, I love it, because yeah, it's fun. We get in some heated arguments sometimes, you know. Especially during OTA, there's 90 of us, right? 90 of us, a lot of testosterone around, a lot of people competing for a job, and so people fighting for reps. I remember we had 2 rookies, and just a little story, like we do like some drills and we have lines, right? Like we have lines just so everything's efficient, you know, you can't go 2 at a time. And these rookies are in the back shoving each other out of the way, trying to not be last, right? They got this mentality like, oh, my dad told me not to be last going to high school camps back in the day. Like no, that's not how this works here. Both of them got cut and they're gone, man. That ain't gonna work. We gotta learn to play, you know? You gotta learn to play along with people, you know? Yeah.
Hi, Austin.
What's up?
So first off, thanks for speaking with us, and then secondly, thank you for carrying my team to a fantasy championship last year.
Let's go. Yes.
He was wearing some Chargers gear yesterday.
Yes.
So my name is Alexander Endorf. I go to the University of Alabama, and my question is, like, as an undrafted free agent, you didn't really have the same immediate platform that a high draft pick would have on the team. How difficult was it as an unestablished player to build credibility in the the locker room?
Yeah. So yeah, I was undrafted, meaning basically I didn't get picked by a team. I had teams reach out to me after they picked all their players, and they were like, hey, if Austin wants to come and try out for our team, you can try out. So that's because I went to Western. They had never heard of it either, right? That was the first player from my school to go to the NFL. And so, you know, going and finally getting on the Chargers, I wore number 3 at the time, running backs, my position. You can't even wear that number. It's not a legal number, so it's like kind of just like a camp body is what we called you. Someone that just fills a spot so that we can give other people a rest and you don't get, you know, too worn out. So for me, you know, there's like the underdog story that people say, but for me, I was never an underdog because I was always starting in my role. I actually ended up dropping my last semester of school because I was like, I have an opportunity that I never ever thought I was going to have in my life. And I wanted to make sure that I applied every single possible ounce of my energy to that. And because I knew I could come back to my education because I built myself up some opportunities in that. But guess what? I'm only young for so long, and I can only play in the NFL for so long in my career. So I devoted every ounce of my energy to going and training to get into the NFL and use this opportunity. And that's my same mindset that it was when I got to camp. I finally get to camp. I'm 6th string. There's no 6th stringers that make it, you know. Those rookies that were in the back, those are the 6th stringers. They didn't make it, you know. Guess what? So guess what? I have to prove something. I got to prove everything. I got everything to prove. They don't even know my name. My head coach didn't even know my name until I made the team. It was crazy. I was just number 3. But what was it? I told my family, I was like, you guys, I know you're excited for me, but I need you not to call me. I need you to just leave me alone and just let me do this. Just let me go. And because they were calling me, hey, how'd today go? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Let me just focus. And so that's what I did. I just devoted everything, my ounce. I studied so much, way more than I needed to. But now, looking back now, I'm glad I did because I knew everything like the back of my hand. I was ready. I was ready for if I got an opportunity that I was going to be able to execute it, and I did. And it was definitely overwhelming, and it's the most stressful thing I've ever been through. I remember I was the only rookie too, because I didn't have anyone else to bounce it off of. But I remember going and talking to my running back coach one time. I just broke down crying because I was like, bro, I'm still 6th string, but I feel like I'm taking advantage. I felt like I was doing the things I was supposed to. I felt like I was checking the boxes, right? And I was, but I didn't have the opportunity to get an extra box yet. And once I finally did, I remember there was a running back that got hurt. He pulled his hamstring or something. So guess what? I got another box. All right, here's my opportunity. I ended up making a few more plays there, and I was ready because I'd put so much towards that. And boom, so I started building trust. I started building respect within my coaches. And then after the last preseason game, we get 4 preseason games. The guys like me, 5th and 6th stringers, get to play in that last game, and finally get some actual reps. Did my job. I did my job, which in the NFL is a pretty good thing to do because you don't have to be Superman out there. That's really hard to do that. So I did my job, and at the end, I had a reporter ask me, how do you feel like you did? And I said, I don't know what the result's going to be, but I know that there's nothing I possibly could have done more. That was everything. So if this is meant to be, I'll make the team. If not, then I'll go back to my education. I ended up going back to school. I knew I was going to do that anyway. I'll go back and I'll work for Noble Energy. And sure enough, ended up making it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ethan from San Diego. I go to Ocean View Christian Academy, and I'm a senior. What is the best advice you've been given when making big decisions?
Ooh, so going back to the same story, right? I made a huge decision. I said, okay, I'm gonna take the risk and reward, and I'm gonna be like, okay, do I go back and train at my school, or do I go to an actual facility and train? That's probably the most pivotal decision I made in my career. And I think what made it easy is I had options, right? I had options. I had a potential other plan, right? It wasn't going to be guaranteed, but it was like, if this happens, right, I had something that I could basically built myself up to, where I was like, hey, I built up my floor. So if I fall, I'm going back to right here. Right? I'm not going all the way to the ground. And I know that's not realistic for maybe some people, but it was really building in, I guess, my thoughts. The risk. How much risk? What is the potential here? And here's how I justified it. I said, if I'm able to go as hard as I possibly can with this type of mindset, guess what? If I fail, I can use that same mindset and the things that I learned along the way as far as applying myself, as trying to commit myself to something, and I can use that and I can use it towards something else. And so that was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that, and if it doesn't work, guess what? I'm going to take that same mindset, I'm going to take that same passion, I'm going to find something else to put it into. And eventually, I'm going to find something that sticks, right? I'm going to find something that sticks against the wall. I'm going to keep throwing myself at things. And so that was my biggest decision I ever had to make, was leaving school to go apply. And so that would be my advice. That would be my advice, is to take your mindset as far as what you're trying to go and what you're taking the risk for, and make sure you hold on to that. Make sure you get the actual value. That's the real value from committing yourself to someone, is the mental capacity to be like, okay, let me commit. Because if it doesn't work, guess what? I'm going to be okay, because I can use that same energy and go this direction too. And then I can start building there, right? That's what we're doing out here. We're all just building, right? We're building in directions. The moment you stop building is when you're going to get in trouble. So it's really continue just to apply that same mindset would be the biggest advice I would give. Yeah. Oh, right here. You're good.
Oh, my apologies.
No, you're good.
I want to thank you for taking your time to speak with us today and sharing some words of wisdom, especially about your career.
Yeah.
My name is Nicholas Kimball. I'm coming from Seton Hall University in New Jersey. And my question for you today is, who is the person who inspired you the most throughout your journey?
Ooh, the person that inspired me the most. This is a tough question for me, because I didn't really grow up watching sports. I didn't really have necessarily like this role model figure that I was like, yes, like that's kind of what I want to curate my life around. It was more so an idea. It was the idea that like, for me, just a little backstory, I really wanted to get out of the situation that I was in when I was younger. It was not the most advantageous place to be in. It was a toxic environment, we'll say that. And so I looked up to just having the ability to sustain on my own. Like, how can I get out of this and sustain on my own and not necessarily need the people that I had in my life at the time? And that's what I looked up to. And so it's more of a concept. There's a lot of people that fit that mold, but it wasn't ever one person. And I think it wasn't ever one person because I really didn't have a lot of exposure to people that I guess were necessarily, not that they weren't doing that, but like we're like, that's exactly what I want to do. It didn't really fit, I guess, my vision of that. And so it's more of an idea, not necessarily a person. Yeah, just being able to sustain and then also like kind of have some type of growth, which is what I'm about, really, as you can tell, just the growth mindset.
Hello. Hi, back here. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. My name is Hannah, and I'm a senior at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. And it's a little interesting because that's kind of what my question is about. So, born and raised in Green Bay, green and gold basically goes through our blood. And thinking about some of the words you had mentioned about, you know, that feeling of emptiness that you feel dominating other players on the field, I can get that. So when thinking about from adversary to ally, how do you let those negative emotions go and find a way to celebrate your opponents?
Yeah, great question. That's kind of going back to like after the game, right? Is that right? Like, you get some clarity on it. Like after the game, you're saying like after, yeah. So going back to the brotherhood that we're involved in. I've been playing 6 years, just finished my 6th year, and so there's people that have been on my team. So, little short story. There's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of players that get traded, get dropped, get cut, get added. So, Injured, yeah, through all the injuries, through all the different things that happen. Life happens, and then especially in a violent sport, injuries do as well. And so there's 2 people right now that I came in with that are still on the team, and so that's how much turnover there is in 6 years. I'm ancient in football years. You know, if you ask people, the average career is like 2.9 years. You know, I've already doubled it, right? It's crazy. You know, we move quite fast, and so because it's so fluid, I have so many friends on other teams, right? Like I said, I'm on the executive committee too, so a lot of people see my face, they see me talking, they're around me. I get to know a lot of our guys. You know, there's 1,600 of us, and so really we see each other all the time too, week to week, watching each other in film, so you kind of get to know somebody even though you don't know them, and so it's a time for you to catch up. So yeah, absolutely, we're wanting to compete. Right, some of my teammates, I have to go play against the next couple weeks because they got traded to a different team, and now they're trying to tackle me. Right, I got the ball in my hands. Right, so it's strange, but here's the thing: we understand what the job is. Right, and when it's in between the whistles, all the trash talk, all that stuff, that's on. It's all on. Right, it's all ready to go. But you know, there's also some personal beefs that people have, but for the most part, we're all pretty much locked into each other and understanding that this is a brotherhood, this is a company, and at the end of the day, we need to move forward. We all need to be healthy so we can keep this healthy, the NFL healthy. And so at the end of the game, like I know I'm dabbing up my guys, you know, asking them how their kids are, asking them how their home life is, because that's what it is. When we're done, we really play for 3 hours, and then in between that is really, you know, taking care of each other and just getting ready for the next opportunity to play. And so it's one of the things I love about the NFL, and it's not really seen from a fan side, because the fans, it's like, oh, that's our rival, like we hate them, you know, and they want to see us fighting after the game, you know, they're like, yeah, and for us, it's like no, like we have to protect ourselves. We're in this together, you know. Great question.
Hey, Austin. I really appreciate you coming to speak with us today. My name is Alex, and I'm a junior at Denison University in Ohio, born and raised in New York. And I'm asking this on behalf of Michael Stanton from DC. Shout out to him. But what teammate of yours best exemplifies hard work and sportsmanship, and how do they do so?
Ooh. What teammate? There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of us that show that. And I would say nowadays that's basically a standard. Like it's a standard for any type of job. You know, you have to show hard work. And for us, there's a lot of people trying to take our jobs. I actually invite it every single year. I tell the rookies that come in, you try to take my job. Like, I try to take my job, right? Because it's challenging me now. If I know you're coming from me, guess what? I ain't going to let you. It's not going to be easy. And so for us to even get to that level, like you've had to have showed some type of excellence and right, some type of diligence and right, and being able to do it over and over and over again. That's why we're professionals at the sport. And so to get to that level, I mean, there's not really guys that don't show that. We all show it in different ways. Some guys are much more talented than others, I would say that. For me, I would say I pretty much lifted my way into the NFL. I fell in love with working out from a young age. That was my getaway from the toxicity. I can go work out. I can build myself up that way. Some guys are just actually talented so much that they barely even work out, and it frustrates me because I'm like, you don't even, like, how are you so big? Like, why are your arms looking like that? Like, I'm over here, doing arms 4 days a week, And so, like, it's really like that. And guess what? Like, especially, life and winning, like, it's not fair. It's not like, hey, you did all the work, you checked the boxes, but you get the job now. This person might not have done nearly as much as you did, and they still get it over you. And that's the reality of it. But when it comes to the NFL, like, there's some capacity. I don't necessarily think there's one that stands out to anybody because it's the standard. If you don't, you get cut. Right, we got guys banging on the door every single day trying to get in. I got people DMing me, hey, tell your GM, like, I'm ready to go. Like, what am I gonna do, And so, yeah, I mean, it's really hard. I don't even think I can choose one. Yeah.
I think we don't necessarily have too much more time, and I think at this point, Kim, if you wouldn't mind sharing if we have a solution for getting a photo.
Yes, I think if we can all just kind of quickly scrunch in. So if you want to stand up where you are.
Group photo?
To the middle.
Are we coming down here or something?
Or are we doing a selfie?
I think, yeah, if you just want to do a
here.
Oh.
Megan's got the phone.
Oh, your selfie again.
We'll do a selfie. So it's going to be like this?
As many selfies as
we gotta squeeze, y'all.
Oh, just the kids. Squeeze.
You can move it to 0.5.
All right.
Yep. Let me scoot forward. The lights are giving me some.
Lights. There you go. That's beautiful.
That's better, maybe.
Don't fall off the stage. I'm
There
not
we
going to be
go.
responsible for that.
Non-football injuries. All right, everyone ready?
All right.
I'll get some on both sides.
Give us a touchdoon cheer, guys.
Awesome.
Everyone, come on.
Very good. I appreciate it. Thank you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you for the questions.
Applause, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Yes, absolutely.